Hi friends, welcome back to i-TUTOR NCERT series. Today we are going to discuss Class 9 Geography NCERT, Chapter 6 Population. The people are important to develop the economy and the society. The people make and use resources that are themselves resources with varying quality. Coal is but a piece of rock until people were able to invent technology to obtain it and make it a resource. Natural events like river flood or tsunami become a disaster only when they affect the crowded village or a town. Hence, population is the pivotal element in social studies. It is the point of reference from which all other elements are observed and from which they derive significance and meaning. Now, resources, calamities, and disasters are all meaningful only in relation to human beings. Their numbers, distribution, growth, and characteristics or qualities provide the basic background for understanding and appreciating all aspects of the environment. Okay, so this is some introduction to the chapter. Human beings are producers and consumers of the earth's resources. Therefore, it is important to know how many people are there in a country, where do they live, and why their number are increasing and what are their characteristics. The census of India provides us the information regarding the population of the country. So, in India, the census provides us the information regarding the population of our country. We are primarily concerned with three major questions about the population. Okay, so there are three major questions about the population. First one, population size and distribution. Okay, that is how many people are there and where are they located. Okay, so that is the population size and distribution. Second one is population growth and process. Okay, population growth and process of population change. That is how has the population grown and changed through time. Then final one is characteristics or qualities of the population. That means what are their age, sex composition, literacy level, occupational structure and health condition. So these are coming under the characteristics or the quality of the population. Now, population size and distribution. India's population size and distribution by numbers. Okay, so that is the first heading, India's population size and distribution by numbers. So this is 2001 census records. Okay, it's not updated, the updated version is here. Okay, the India's population as on March 2001 stood at 1028 million, which account for 16.7% of the world's population. Okay, now it's about 17%. Okay, these 1.2 billion people are unevenly distributed over our country's vast area of 3.28 million square kilometer. So the India have 3.28 million square kilometer of area, and which accounts for 2.4% of the world's area. Okay, so the 17% of the total population of the world live in 2.4% of the area. Okay, so that is the condition of India. Okay, 17% population live in 2.4% of the area. Okay, so that is the current situation of India. The 2001 census data reveals that Uttar Pradesh, with a population size of 166 million people, is the most populous state of the India. Okay, so this is 2001 census data. Okay, and Uttar Pradesh account for 16% of the country's population on that time. On the other hand, Himalayan states Sikkim has population of just about 0.5 million and Lakshadweep was only 60,000 people. Okay, so this is the census data of 2001. Almost half of India's population lives in 5 states, that is Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal and Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so most of these places are in the plain areas. Okay, Rajasthan, the biggest state in terms of area, has only 5.5% of the total population of India because most of the places in Rajasthan are deserted. Okay, now look at this. In 2024, India's estimated population is 1.45 billion. Okay, so in 2024, India's population is 1.45 billion. In 2001, it is 1028 million. Okay, but now it's 1.45 billion, and this makes India the most populous country in the world, surpassing China. Okay, so China was the population most populous country, but now in 2024, India surpassing China and became the most populous country in the world. It is number one population country in the world. Now, moving forward, India's population distribution by density. Population density provides a better picture of the uneven distribution. Population density is calculated as the number of persons per unit area. So what is population density? It is the number of persons per unit area. India is one of the most densely populated countries of the world. So India is most densely populated country. The population density of India in the year 2001 was 324 persons per square kilometer. So in 1 square kilometer there will be 324 persons. Okay, this is the data from 2001. Densities varies from 904 persons per square kilometer in West Bengal to only 13 persons per square kilometer in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, note the states with the population densities below 250 persons per kilometer. Okay, so that's just a homework. Rugged terrain and unfavorable climatic conditions are primarily responsible for space population in these areas. Okay, so the rugged terrain and unfavorable climatic condition. We already discussed about the plains of Indian plains. That is, they are the those places are the most populated places because it's very helpful for it consists of fertile land and it's helpful for agriculture and other process. So most of the people lived there. But the rugged terrain and unfavorable climatic condition is responsible for the sparse population in many areas. Okay, especially in the Himalayan region, then Rajasthan region, that is west region, and northeastern region, some of the northeastern region. Assam and most of the peninsula states have moderate population densities. Hilly descents and rocky nature of the terrain, then moderate to low rainfall, shallow and less fertile soils have influenced the population densities in this area. So these factors, that is hilly, dissected and rocky nature of the terrain, then moderate to low rainfall, then shallow and less fertile soil, and these are influenced the population density in an area. The northern plains and Kerala in the south have high to very high population densities because of the flat plains with the fertile soil and also the abundant rain. Okay, so these are the factors which helps or which causes northern plains and Kerala for high or very high population densities. Okay, the first one is flat plain. Okay, northern plains and Kerala have flat plains, then fertile soils, and it have abundant rainfall. Now, population growth and process of population change. Population is a dynamic phenomenon. The numbers, distribution, and composition of the population are constantly changing. This is the influence of the interaction of three processes, namely birth, death, and migration. Okay, so these are three factors which affect the influence the interaction, okay, of population growth. Now, first one is population growth. Growth of population refers to the change in numbers of inhabitants of a country or territory during a specific period of time, say during last 10 years. So what is population growth? The growth of population refers to the change in number of inhabitants of a country or territory during a specific period of time, say during 10 years, okay, last 10 years. So that is the population growth. Such a change can be expressed in two ways, in terms of absolute numbers and in terms of percentage change per year. The absolute numbers added each year or decade is the magnitude of increase. It is obtained by simply subtracting the earlier population, okay, that is example 1991, okay, and from the later population, that's 2001, okay. If you consider 2001, and 2011. Then first one is 2001 and second one is 2011. So what to do? By subtracting 2011 to 2001. Okay, it is referred as the absolute increase. Okay, so then we can found how many persons are increased between these 2 years. Okay, that is the absolute increase. The rate or the pace of population increase is the other important aspect. It is studied in percent per annum. Okay, it is studied in percent per annum. Example, a rate of increase of 2% per annum means that in a given year there was an increase of 2% for every 100%. Okay, if the increase is 2%, then that means there is an increase in 2% for every 100%. Okay, so 2%, okay, every 100%, when you take every 100%, there is a 2% increase. Now, this is referred to the annual growth rate. Okay, so what is annual growth rate? The rate or the pace of population increases is the other important factor, and it is studied in percent per annum. Okay, percent per annum, that is the annual percent rate or annual growth rate. Okay, how we find this? Example, a rate of increase of 2% per annum means that in a given year, okay, there was an increase of 2% for every 100%. If you take every 100%, then there is a increase of 2%. Okay, there is an increase of 2%. So this is called annual growth rate. India's population has been steadily increasing from 361 millions in 1951 to 3028 millions in 2001, and now it is 1.6 billion, right? 1.45 billion. Okay, so now it is 1.45 billion. Okay, so in 1951 the population was 361 million, and in 2024 it's about 1.45 billion. Okay, so that much increase happened. Since 1981, however, the rate of growth started declining gradually. Okay, so since 1981, the rate of growth started declining gradually. During this period, birth rates declined rapidly, and still 182 million people were added to the total population in 1990s. Okay, so in 1990s, 182 million people were added to the total population. Now, it is essential to realize that India has a very large population. When a low annual rate is applied to a very large population, it yields a large absolute increase. When more than a billion people increases, even at a lower rate, the total numbers being added becomes very large. India's current annual increase in population of 15.5 million is a large enough to utilize effort to conserve the resource, endowment and environment. The declining trend of the growth rate is indeed a positive indicator of the effort of birth control. Okay, so the declining trend of the growth rate, so that's a positive indicator of the efforts of birth control. Despite that, the total addition to the population base continued to grow, and India may overtake China in 2045. Okay, this is a data from 2001 census, but now India has already overtaken China. Okay, according to the 2024 data, India has already overtaken China in terms of population. Now, process of population change or growth. There are three main processes of change of population. First one is birth rate, then death rate and migration. The natural increase of population is the difference between birth rate and the death rate. So the natural increase of the population, that is the difference between birth rate. Okay, that is difference between birth rate and death rate. Okay, so this is the natural increase of population. What is birth rate? The birth rate is the number of live births per 1,000 persons in a year. Okay, so number of live births per 1,000 persons in a year. it is a major component of growth because in India, birth rates have always been higher than the death rate. Okay, so in India, the birth rates are higher. Okay, birth rates are higher than the death rates. Okay, or birth rates are higher than the death rates. The main cause of the rate of growth of Indian population has been the rapid decline in death rates. Okay, so what is death rate? So we discussed about the birth rate. Now death rate is number of deaths per 1,000 persons in a year. So what is death rate? It is the number of deaths per 1,000 persons. Okay, number of death per 1,000 person in a year. Okay, in a year. So that is called a death rate. Okay, so what is birth rate? Birth rate is the number of live birth per 1,000 person in a year. But death rate means number of persons death per 1,000 person in a year. Okay. The main cause of the rate of growth of Indian population has been the rapid decline in death rates. Okay, in India, the death rates are rapidly decreasing. Till 1980, high birth rates and declining death rates led to a large difference between birth rate and death rates, resulting in higher rate of population growth. Since 1980, okay, so that's already discussed. Now, so we discussed about the death rate and birth rate. Now the third component is the migration. Okay, so the third component of population growth is migration. What is migration? What do you mean by migration? The migration is the movement of people across regions and territories. So what is migration? It is the movement of people across regions and territories. Migration can be internal, that is within a country, or international. Okay, so internal means inside a country and international means between the countries. So migrations are of two types. First one is internal migration and the second one is international migration. Internal migration means the migration within a country, okay, or inside a country, and international migration means the migration between two countries. Internal migration does not change the size of population. Okay, so the internal migration does not change the size of population because they are moving inside the territory or inside the country. So there is no change of size of population, but it influences the distribution of population with the nation. Okay, so it influences the distribution of population within the nation. Now, migration plays a very significant role in changing the composition and distribution of population. Okay, so the migration play a critical role in changing the composition and distribution of population. In India, most migrations have been from rural to urban areas because of the push factor in rural areas. Okay, so there are two factors. First one is push factor and then is pull factor. Now, what are push factor? These are adverse conditions of poverty and unemployment in the rural areas. Okay, so these are the adverse conditions, that is poverty, unemployment, etc. Okay, so they push people to migrate to another place. Okay, so these things push people. Okay, so that's why the push factor. They push people to migrate into other places. But there are also pull factor in the city in terms of increased employment opportunities and better living condition. Okay, so pull factor means that pull citizen or that pull people to came to the new cities for better employment and living condition. Okay, so that is migration. The migrations are of two types. First one is internal migration, that is the migration within the country or inside the country. Second one is international migration, that is between two countries. Now, there are two factors which lead to migration. The first one is push factor and second one is pull factor. Push factor means it's like adverse condition like poverty, unemployment, etc. This push people to migrate to another place. And second one is pull factor, that is the increased employment opportunities and better living condition. Okay, this factor pull people to migrate to another place. Now, migration is an important determinant of population change. It changes not only the population size but also the population composition of urban and rural population in terms of age and sex composition. Okay, so it not only change the population size, okay, but also the population composition of urban and the rural population. In India, the urban-rural migration has resulted in a steady increase in the percentage of population in cities and towns. The urban population has increased from 17.29% of the total population in 1951 to 27.78% in 2001. Okay, so that's a big change from 17% to 27%. Okay, more than approximately 10%. Okay, difference. There has been a significant increase in the number of million plus cities from 23 to 35 in just one decade. Okay, that is from 1991 to 2001. There are millions plus cities from 23. Once there are 23 cities, but now it's 35. Okay, now it is more than in 2024. It's more than 35. Now, age composition. The age composition of a population refers to the number of people in different age groups in a country. It is one of the most basic characteristics of population. To an important degree, a person's age influences what he needs, buys, does, and his capacity to perform. Consequently, the number and percentage of population found within the children, working age, and aged groups are notably determinants of the population's social and economic structure. The population of a nation is generally grouped into three broad categories. Okay, so the population of a nation can be determined or can be grouped into three broad categories. First one, children's. Okay, they are generally below 15 years. Okay, below 15 years of age. Okay, so they are generally 15 years of age. They are below 15 years of age. They are economically unproductive and need to be provided with food, clothing, education, and medical care. Okay, so these people are economically unproductive and they need food, clothing, education, and medical care. Okay. Now, second is working age, that is 15 to 59. They are economically productive and biologically reproductive. Okay, so the people between 15 to 59 years are economically productive and biologically reproductive. They comprise the working population. Okay, so they are known as working population. And the final one is aged. Aged people are above 59 years. They can be economically productive, though they may have retired. They may be working voluntarily, but they are not available for employment through recruitment. Okay, so they are not available for employment through recruitment. The percentage of children and the aged affect the dependency ratio because these groups are not producers. Okay, so these groups are not producers. So they affect the percentage of dependency ratio. Okay, so there are three types of people, three types of categories in population. That is children, generally below 15 years. Second one is working age, that is 15 to 59 years. And finally, the aged people, they are above 59 years. Now, what is sex ratio? Sex ratio is defined as the number of females per 1000 male in a population. Okay, so number of females from females per 1000 males. 1000 male. So that is the sex ratio. So what is sex ratio? Number of female per 1000 male. This information is an important social indicator to measure the extent of equality between males and female in a society at a given time. Okay, so this is an important information because it gives it indicates the measure of extent of equality between males and females in a society at a given time. The sex ratio in the country has always remained unfavorable to females. Okay, so the sex ratio in the country always remained unfavorable to females. Now, literacy rates. Literacy is a very important quality of population. Okay, we know education is very important. So, literacy is a very important quality of population. Obviously, only an informed and educated citizen can make intelligent choices and undertake research and development projects. Low level of literacy are a serious obstacle for economic improvement. According to census of 2001, a person aged 7 years and above who can read and write with understanding in any language is treated as literate. Okay, so according to the 2001 census, a person who aged 7 years and above who can read and write with understanding in any language and he is treated as a literate person. There has been a steady improvement in literacy levels in India. Okay, so we know the Indian literacy is very high. The literacy rate in the country as per the census of 2001 is 64.84%. 75.25% of male and 53.67% for female. Okay, so here also the literacy level was low in females. Okay, next one is occupational structure. The percentage of population that is economically active is an important index of development. The distribution of the population according to different types of occupation is referred to as the occupational structure. So what is occupational structure? The distribution of the population according to different types of occupation. So this is referred as the occupational structure. An enormous variety of occupations are found in any country. Occupations are generally classified as primary, secondary and tertiary. So the primary activities are agriculture, animal husbandry, forestry, fishing, mining and quarrying. So these are the primary activities. Then secondary activities include manufacturing industry, building and construction work. And the tertiary activity include transport, communication, commerce, administration and other services. Okay, so there are three types of occupations. Generally, first one is primary activity, second one is secondary activity and final one is tertiary activities. The proportion of people working in different activities varies in developed and developing countries. Developed nations have a high proportion of people in secondary and tertiary activity. Okay, so in developed nation, the most population or most people are working in the secondary as well as tertiary activities. And developing countries tend to have a higher proportion of their workforce engaging in primary activity. Okay, so what is the difference in developed country? In developed country, most of the people are in the secondary and tertiary. Secondary and tertiary sector. But in developing countries, most of the people are in the primary sector. Okay. In India, about 64% of the population is engaged only in agriculture. The proportion of population depend on secondary and tertiary sector is about 13 and 20% respectively. Okay, this is the data from 2001 census. There has been an occupational shift in favor of secondary and tertiary sectors because of the growing industrialization and urbanization in recent time. Okay, so there has been an occupational shift in favor of the secondary and tertiary sectors because of the growing industrialization and the urbanization. Okay, that's happened in the recent times. Now, health. Health is an important component of population composition which affects the process of development. Sustained efforts of government programs have registered significant improvements in the health condition of Indian population. Death rates have declined from 25 per thousand population in 1951 to 8.1 per thousand in 2001. Okay, so in 1951 there is 25% per thousand population. Deaths have happened, but in 2001 there is only 8.1 per person, that is for 1000 person are happened. And life expectancy as birth has increased from 36.7 years in 1951 to 64.6 years in 2001. Okay, so that is the life expectancy in 2001. The substantial improvement is the result of many factors including improvement in public health, prevention of infection diseases and application of modern medical practices in diagnosis and treatment of ailment. Okay, so these are some factors that improve the health result or that improve the good health condition in India. Despite considerable achievements, the health situation is a matter of major concern for India. The per capita calorie consumption is much below the recommended levels, and malnutrition affects a large percentage of our population. Safe drinking water and basic sanitation amenities are available to only one-third of the rural population. These problems need to be tackled through an appropriate population policy. Okay, so now we have many initiatives like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, they improve our health sector. Now, adolescent population. The most significant features of the Indian population is the size of its adolescent population. It constitutes one-fifth of the total population of India. Adolescents are generally grouped in the age group of 10 to 19 years. They are the most important resource of the future. Nutrition requirements of adolescents are higher than those of normal child or adult. Poor nutrition can lead to deficiency and stunted growth. But in India, the diet available to adolescents is inadequate in all nutrients. A large number of adolescent girls suffer from anemia. Okay. Their problems have so far not received adequate attention in the process of development. The adolescent girls have to sensitize to problems they comfort. Their awareness can be improved through the spread of literacy and education among them. Okay. Now, National Population Policy. Recognizing that the planning of families would improve individual health and welfare, the Government of India initiated the Comprehensive Family Planning Program in 1952. The Family Welfare Program has sought to promote a responsible and planned parenthood on a voluntary basis. The National Population Policy 2000 is a accumulation of years of planned efforts. The National Population Policy 2000 provides a policy framework for imparting free and compulsory school education up to 40 years of age. Okay, so it's also in our constitution, that is Article 21A. Okay, so that's also said about the compulsory education up to 14 years age. Now, reducing infant mortality rate to below 30 per thousand live births, achieving universal immunization of children against all vaccines, preventable diseases, promoting delaying marriage for girls, and making family welfare a people-centered program. Okay, so these are some other things. Okay, so that's about the National Population Policy. Okay, now National Population Policy 2000, okay, and adolescents. The NPP 2000. Okay, so again let's discuss this National Population Policy once again. Look at this, that is the National Population Policy 2000 is a cumulative of the years of planned effort, and it's a policy framework for implementing free and compulsory education of children up to 14 years of age. So that's all. So that's also in our Article 21A. Okay, so what is Article 21A? It said it guarantees the right to education for children between the age of 6 and 14 years. Okay, 6 to 14 years guarantee the right to education for the children of 6 and 14 years age. Okay, so it's a fundamental right. And also reducing infant mortality rate to below 30 per thousand live births, and achieving universal immunization of children against all vaccine preventable diseases, promoting delayed marriage for girls, and making family welfare. Okay. Now, NPP 2000 and adolescents. The NPP 2000 identified adolescents as one of the major sections of the population and that need greater attention. Besides nutritional requirements, the policy put greater emphasis on other important needs of adolescents, including protection from unwanted pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases, that is STDs. It called for programs that aim towards encouraging delayed marriage and childbearing education of adolescents about the risk of unprotected sex, making contraceptive services accessible and affordable, providing food supplements, nutritional services, strengthening legal measures to prevent child marriages. Okay, so these are some things or some matters do for the adolescent people. Okay, so That's about the chapter. For more videos, like, share, subscribe.